You believe truth makes you strong, but truth is often the rope with which men hang themselves. In politics, in power, and even in love, your honesty is not a shield. It is a weapon, but one most often used against you. Today, I will show you why your truth is not a virtue, but a liability that others can exploit. Men cling to the illusion that honesty will buy them loyalty, respect, and safety. Yet history shows the opposite. Rulers who spoke too freely invited betrayal, and common men who revealed their hearts became easy prey. A world hungry for power does not reward sincerity, it devours it. If you would master survival in this ruthless theater of ambition, you must learn when silence strengthens, when lies protect, and when truth destroys. Enter with me into the shadows of human nature, and you will see. Candor is a luxury, deception is a weapon, and the wise choose carefully which they wield. You have been told since childhood that honesty is a virtue. That truth will set you free. That if you reveal yourself completely, the world will reward you with trust and admiration. But look closely. Is that truly how power works? History says otherwise. Power punishes the unguarded, and truth, when given too freely, is nothing but an open wound, waiting for an enemy's knife. Consider Julius Caesar. His openness about ambition made him beloved by the masses, but it also betrayed his intentions to the Senate. They saw through his hunger for rule, and with that knowledge, they orchestrated his downfall. Had he concealed more, had he cloaked his ambition with careful modesty, perhaps daggers would never have found his flesh on the Ides of March. The lesson: your truth may elevate you for a moment, but it arms others with the tools to predict and destroy you. Think of how people operate today. The colleague who smiles as you confess your doubts. He does not hear your honesty as friendship. He records it as weakness, ammunition for the day he must rise above you. The lover to whom you confess your insecurities. She does not always respond with compassion. Sometimes she stores it in memory to use in moments of anger, betrayal, or abandonment. So I ask you, when you reveal your deepest truth, what are you really doing? You are gifting power to someone else. You are showing them the strings that can make you dance. Psychology confirms this. Human beings are predators of information. We study expressions, words, secrets, anything that gives us leverage over others. Social hierarchies are not maintained by fairness, but by advantage. And advantage is secured when you know more about your opponent than he knows about you. That is why confession feels liberating but ends in regret. It is why nations hide intelligence, why rulers employ spies, why lovers test loyalty with silence rather than words. Because to reveal everything is to become predictable, and the predictable man is the easiest to defeat. Ask yourself, do you not already sense this? Have you never regretted saying too much? Have you never watched the eyes of another light up when you reveal a vulnerability, a secret, a mistake? That flicker in their gaze is recognition. They now possess a weapon, and you have handed it to them freely. Think of politics. The man who confesses his true beliefs without caution rarely survives. Leaders cloak their intentions in vague promises, never offering complete truth. Why? Because full truth exposes them to attack, while ambiguity allows survival. The same applies in everyday life. At work, if you declare your ambition openly, you invite sabotage. If you declare your doubts, you invite dismissal. Yet if you remain measured, offering only fragments of truth, you keep others guessing. And in that uncertainty, you hold control. Power is not about honesty. It is about leverage. And leverage comes not from truth itself, but from deciding who gets to hold it. Do not misunderstand me. I do not say truth has no value. Truth can inspire loyalty when released in the right dose, at the right time to the right audience. But uncontrolled truth is poison. It seeps into the hands of your rivals, corrodes your defenses, and leaves you defenseless. This is why I tell you your truth is not your treasure. It is your vulnerability. Treat it as you would treat your gold. Hidden, guarded, revealed only when it buys you something greater in return. Reflect on your own life. Who truly knows you? Who has seen your fears, your weaknesses, your private thoughts? And ask, What would they do with that knowledge if circumstances turned against you? If you feel a shiver at the thought, then you already understand. Truth in the wrong hands is a blade pressed to your throat, and you placed it there yourself. So learn restraint, learn to speak carefully, reveal strategically, and remain silent when silence protects you. The wise man uses truth as a weapon, never as a confession, because once spoken, truth cannot be recalled, and once given, it cannot be taken back. Now you must ask, if truth disarms you, then what weapon remains? That is the lesson of our next step, where silence, deception, and control reshape honesty into strength. Men are not destroyed by lies as often as they are destroyed by truths revealed too soon. The cunning understand this. They know that the art of power is not in giving all of oneself, but in shaping what is seen and concealing what is not. You may believe transparency is strength. You may believe showing your whole self proves authenticity. But what does authenticity buy you in a world ruled by perception, rivalry, and ambition? It buys you exposure. And exposure is vulnerability. The masters of history did not survive by revealing everything. They survived by revealing enough. Take Napoleon. He never allowed his generals or allies to see his full plan. He gave them fragments, just enough to obey, never enough to challenge. This selective disclosure made him unpredictable, feared, and always one step ahead. Had he bared his strategy completely, he would have been outmaneuvered long before Waterloo. And think of the Medici in Florence. They held their power not by confessions, but by masks. They revealed loyalty to the church, affection for the people, and generosity to artists. But beneath that mask, they maneuvered in shadows, funding assassinations and controlling politics with whispers. If they had been transparent, they would have been overthrown in a single season. So I ask you, why do you reveal so much? Why do you give your friends, colleagues, or rivals the full map of your intentions? Do you think they admire your honesty? Or are they silently calculating how to use it against you? Psychology tells us that people overvalue what is scarce. Scarcity creates allure. Mystery creates desire. When you reveal everything, you make yourself cheap. When you withhold, you make yourself valuable. This is why the most magnetic figures in history, whether leaders, lovers, or thinkers, always carried an aura of the unknown. They spoke carefully, revealing only fragments, forcing others to lean closer, to wonder, to speculate. And speculation is more powerful than truth, because it keeps the mind of others occupied with you. Now reflect on your own life. When you speak, do you measure? Or do you spill your thoughts like coins in the street? Do you let others guess what you intend, or do you announce it before you act? Understand this, every word you reveal is a stone removed from the wall of your fortress. A few stones make no difference, but too many, and the enemy walks right in. The art lies in partial revelation. You give just enough to shape perception, but never enough to be truly known. A leader tells his men only the part of the plan that inspires courage. A strategist shows his rivals only the weakness he wants them to attack. A lover reveals affection but guards the depths of his true emotion, maintaining tension, intrigue, and control. Why? Because when you control what others know, you control what they can do. And when you control what they can do, you rule the field. Think again of politics. Those who reveal too much, too early, are easy to topple. Those who remain silent, ambiguous, mysterious, are feared. Enemies cannot strike at shadows. They swing wildly and exhaust themselves. That is the advantage of selective disclosure. Even in the smallest matters, this principle reigns. In negotiation, reveal your needs too openly, and you will pay more than necessary. Withhold them, and others scramble to guess what you truly want, often offering more than you expected. In friendship, speak of your secrets too freely, and you arm others with leverage. Withhold them, and you maintain dignity and respect. Do not mistake this for cowardice. It is control. Selective disclosure is not about silence, it is about orchestration. You decide the stage, the script, the moment. Others see only what you allow, and in that gap between what they know and what they suspect lies your power. So what is the true lesson? Never give the whole of yourself. Not to a friend, not to a lover, not even to those who swear loyalty. Because loyalty changes, but information endures. The less they know, the less they can betray. Now ask yourself, how many people know too much about you? How many doors have you left unlocked by your eagerness to be understood? And what will happen when someone finally decides to walk through those doors? The wise learn to guard themselves. They turn truth into fragments, fragments into stories, and stories into weapons. And they ensure that no one, not even their closest ally, can claim to know them fully. That is the discipline of power, and it separates the ruler from the ruled. But if selective disclosure grants such strength, what of its opposite? What of those who cling blindly to honesty, to full exposure to virtue? Do they survive, or do they become the sacrifices that fuel the ambitions of others? We will answer that question next. You have been told that honesty is noble. That speaking your mind makes you brave. That revealing your heart makes you authentic. But let me ask, who told you this? It was not kings. It was not conquerors. It was the weak, the powerless, those who needed others to disarm themselves through candor. Honesty is praised by those who benefit from your exposure. It is a virtue they demand from you, but rarely practice themselves. Consider the fate of Savonarola, the fiery preacher of Florence. He believed his raw honesty would cleanse the city of corruption. He shouted the truth from pulpits, defying rulers, merchants, and even the Pope himself. And where did his honesty lead him? Not to glory, but to the gallows. His truth made him predictable, his zeal made him vulnerable, and his enemies struck with ease. The naive honesty of one man fed the ambition of others. Now contrast this with rulers who veiled their words. They spoke in riddles, in ambiguities, in half-truths that concealed their designs. They survived where the honest perished. Because in power, survival belongs not to the sincere, but to the strategic, do you see? Honesty is not always virtue, it is often vanity. A desire to appear righteous, to cleanse oneself by speaking the truth. But righteousness does not protect you when rivals sharpen their knives. It makes you their easiest target. Psychology reveals the same pattern. People value predictability when they wish to control you. If you are honest in every word, you are transparent in every move. Your rivals need not guess what you think. They already know. They know where you stand, what you fear, what you desire. And once they know, they can manipulate you as a puppeteer manipulates strings. Think of the workplace. The man who blurts out his frustrations in a meeting believes he is being courageous. But what does he achieve? His words mark him as emotional, unstable, easy to provoke. Meanwhile, the silent rival watches, smiles, and uses that display to undermine him later. Think of relationships. The person who confesses every insecurity to their partner believes it will deepen intimacy. But often, it plants seeds of contempt. Because human nature admires strength and secretly despises weakness. The naive honesty that was meant to bind the relationship instead becomes the slow poison that erodes it. Even in war, the pattern is clear. The general who announces his strategy openly is defeated before the battle begins. The general who deceives, who misleads, who hides his intentions, he is feared. Why? Because unpredictability is strength. And honesty kills unpredictability. So ask yourself, why do you reveal so much? Why do you cling to the belief that virtue lies in exposure? Is it morality, or is it weakness disguised as morality, a need to unburden yourself, to be understood, to seek validation? Understand this: power respects control, not confession. The strong measure their words as a measure measures coins. The weak spill them as drunkards spill wine, careless of the cost. This is why blind honesty is dangerous. It is not courage, it is carelessness, and in a world ruled by cunning, the careless do not survive. But there is another angle to consider. What happens when honesty collides with the ambitions of others? When your truth disrupts their interests, their profit, their power? You become not merely naive, you become dangerous to them, and dangerous men are eliminated. Remember, men will forgive almost anything but the truth that threatens them. The ruler who hears a blunt criticism rarely tolerates it. The lover who hears a raw confession they did not want to know often withdraws. The ally who hears your real intentions may decide you are no longer useful. This is the cost of naive honesty. It assumes the world rewards sincerity. But the world does not. It rewards advantage, and advantage belongs to those who know when to speak and when to remain silent. So ask again, what has your honesty gained you? Respect or regret? Allies or enemies? Safety or exposure? If you are honest, you already know the answer. And if you are wise, you will see that honesty is a tool, not a principle. Used sparingly with calculation, it can serve you. Used blindly, it will destroy you. But what then replaces honesty? If truth is dangerous, what shield protects you from betrayal? What art allows you to survive in the chaos of human ambition? The answer lies not in confession, but in silence. And it is to silence that we now turn. Men speak too much. They believe words prove power, noise proves authority. But often, the strongest voice in the room is the one that remains silent. Why? Because silence unsettles. It denies others the information they crave. And in that vacuum of uncertainty, imagination breeds fear. Consider the council chambers of ancient Rome. The senators debated furiously, each vying to outshout the other. But the man who spoke least, who withheld his thoughts until the moment was right, commanded the most attention when he finally opened his mouth. Silence magnified his words. Scarcity made them precious. Now contrast this with the man who speaks constantly. His voice becomes background noise, predictable and cheap. He gains no power from speaking, because he has already revealed everything. Have you not noticed this in your own life? The colleague who says little in meetings, people speculate what he thinks. The friend who doesn't rush to reply, others wonder if they have offended him. The lover who pauses before answering, suspicion and desire grow stronger in that pause than in the words themselves. Silence is not emptiness, it is control. Psychology explains it clearly. Human beings are uncomfortable with ambiguity. When you withhold, others project their fears, their hopes, their insecurities onto your silence. They create meanings you never had to state. And often, their imagined version is more powerful than any truth you could have spoken. This is why interrogators use silence to break their subjects. They let the prisoner speak, stumble, reveal. The interrogator sits still, offering nothing. The silence becomes unbearable. And in that discomfort, the prisoner rushes to fill it with confessions. Now apply this to power. If you remain silent when others demand an answer, you force them to reveal themselves first. They over-explain. They show their cards. They waste their energy trying to decode you. That is the art of strategic silence. Look to history again. When Elizabeth I of England was pressed to marry, she often gave no answer. Her silence allowed her to play kings, princes, and ministers against each other. Each one hoped, speculated, and courted her favor, while she revealed nothing. Her silence was her shield, her weapon, her throne. Ask yourself, how many times have you betrayed yourself because you could not endure silence? You rushed to explain, to justify, to prove. And in doing so, you revealed more than you should. All because you feared the weight of silence. This is why most men are weak. They cannot sit in stillness. They must fill every void with chatter. They mistake speaking for influence, but they only dilute their power. The wise man understands timing. He knows silence sharpens curiosity, and curiosity sharpens control. When he speaks, he does so rarely, but with precision. And because his words are rare, they strike deeper. Think of negotiation. The amateur blurts out his needs. The master asks a question and then falls silent. The other side, uncomfortable, rushes to fill the gap with concessions. The silence extracted more than words ever could. Think of leadership. A ruler who is silent at the right moment makes his advisors anxious. They argue, they confess, they reveal their ambitions. He listens, and in that listening, he gains knowledge without exposing himself. Even in personal life, silence is magnetic. The man who does not speak of his every feeling becomes mysterious. Mystery attracts, because people desire what they cannot fully understand. But remember, silence is not passivity, it is not weakness, it is calculated restraint. It is the decision to let others exhaust themselves while you conserve strength. It is the art of making others reveal, while you conceal. So I ask you, how do you wield your silence? Do you scatter words like coins to beg for attention? Or do you hold them back, letting silence work as your shadow army? The truth is clear: what you say defines you for a moment, but what you do not say defines you for far longer. Words vanish as they are spoken, but silence lingers, echoing in the minds of others, forcing them to wonder, to doubt, to fear. That is power, that is control, but silence alone is not enough. There are times when even silence must bend to strategy. Times when words must be used, not as truth, but as weapons. And it is there that we turn next, to the art of wielding truth itself as currency. Truth is not sacred. It is not a divine law written into the stars. It is a tool, sharp when wielded with care, deadly when handled with naivety. The mistake most men make is to worship truth as if it were a principle. They believe it must be spoken, honored, lived without exception. But principles are chains, and the man bound by chains cannot rule himself, let alone others. The wise treat truth like currency. They spend it only when it buys advantage. They withhold it when it costs them more than it earns. They counterfeit it when illusion serves better than reality. Look to the diplomacy of rulers. A prince does not reveal his true intentions at the council table. He cloaks them in half-truths, promises, and gestures. If truth served him always, there would be no need for spies, no need for secrets, no need for strategy. But kingdoms do not rise on honesty, they rise on calculation. Consider Churchill during the Second World War. He did not tell his people every truth of Britain's vulnerability. Had he confessed the full extent of their weakness, panic would have consumed the nation. Instead, he offered selective truth, just enough to inspire courage, just enough to maintain resolve while the darker realities remained hidden. Truth was not principle, it was weapon. Now contrast this with those who reveal everything. The man who insists on complete honesty in politics is destroyed. The lover who demands total transparency breeds resentment and suspicion. The merchant who reveals the full cost of his goods loses the art of negotiation. Too much truth is a confession, and confession is weakness. Ask yourself, do you always tell the truth? Or do you instinctively conceal when concealment protects you? When you say, "I'm fine," though you are not, is that dishonesty or strategy? It is proof that truth is not your principle, but your instrument. Psychology supports this. Humans do not seek truth for its own sake. They seek advantage. We distort memories to preserve pride. We lie to protect relationships. We exaggerate to inspire trust. Even the most honest among us bends truth daily, often without realizing it. Why? Because survival demands it. But survival is not mastery. To master truth, you must learn to wield it deliberately. At times, truth should be spoken, but not because it is moral. Because it is useful. The confession of a mistake may disarm suspicion, earning sympathy. The revelation of a painful fact may intimidate a rival into caution. The admission of partial weakness may conceal greater strength. And at other times, truth must be withheld because silence buys more than words. A general does not reveal his true army size before the battle. A negotiator does not reveal his lowest price. A rival who speaks his entire truth saves you the trouble of uncovering it yourself. He becomes predictable, exposed, easily undone. So understand this distinction: truth is not virtue, it is leverage. And like all leverage, its value depends on timing and intention. Think of your own life. When have you revealed truth at the wrong moment? Did it strengthen you or weaken you? Did it buy respect or did it invite exploitation? And when you withheld truth, when you allowed others to wonder, did you not feel stronger, safer, more in control? The lesson is clear. Truth is not a principle to live by. It is a resource to be managed. You do not waste it. You do not give it away freely. You invest it where the return is greatest. The naive think truth is light. But light blinds as often as it illuminates. The wise use truth like fire, warming allies, burning enemies, and always contained so it does not consume the wielder himself. So I ask you, will you continue to treat truth as a sacred burden, or will you sharpen it into a blade, choosing carefully when and how to strike? For here lies the ultimate paradox. Truth can protect you, but only when you refuse to worship it. And truth can destroy you, but only when you bow to it as principle. The question now becomes this: if truth is a weapon, how do you master its use without being mastered by it? You now see the truth. Control is never taken with force alone. The greatest chains are invisible, forged from silence, half-truths, and measured words. Men believe they act freely, yet they dance to strings you pull. They think they know you, but they know only what you allow. Is that not the highest form of power? To command without being seen, to rule without ever appearing as ruler. Remember, speak rarely, reveal little, and let others reveal themselves. Your control grows strongest when no one realizes they are being controlled. Now I turn to you. How will you wield these strategies in your own life? What truths will you withhold? What silences will you command? Comment below. Let me see how you think. If you seek more lessons in the cold art of survival and power, subscribe. Share this with those who dare to understand human nature without illusions. For the rest will remain blind. But you now walk in shadow, armed with knowledge.